Chapter 10. Lisa's Surprise Visit. Lisa sat on the worn-out sofa in her small apartment, the dim light from the street lamp outside casting a soft glow across the room. Her son, now 10 years old, was asleep in the next room, and the quiet of the night was both a comfort and a reminder of the life she had built for them. As she sipped her tea, her thoughts drifted back to Sebastian. He was persistent, that much was clear. But she could not help but wonder what he truly wanted from her. She had seen the way he looked at her during her performances, the way his eyes followed her every move. There was something in his gaze that unsettled her, a mixture of desire and something else, something she could not quite put her finger on. But she couldn't afford to let herself be distracted. She had worked too hard to get to where she was, and she wasn't about to let anyone, no matter how powerful or wealthy, derail her. She had learned the hard way that the only person she could rely on was herself. And she would be foolish if she let herself fall into the same traps that had ensnared her in the past. But even as she resolved to keep her distance, she could not switch the memory of their conversation. There had been a vulnerability in Sebastian's voice, a hint of sadness that had resonated with her own experiences. It was as if he, too, was searching for something, trying to fill a void that wealth and power could not satisfy. A few days later, as Lisa was finishing up her practice at the studio, there was a knock on the door. She wiped the sweat from her brow and walked over to open it, only to find Sebastian standing there with a bouquet of lilies in his hand. "I hope I'm not intruding," he said, his voice deep and steady. "I wanted to see you." Lisa's first instinct was to close the door on him, but something in his eyes stopped her. There was no arrogance, no expectation, just a quiet sincerity that made her pause. "Why?" she asked, her voice betraying the caution she felt. Sebastian hesitated for a moment, then handed her the flowers. "Because I cannot stop thinking about you. About how strong you are, how determined. You remind me of myself when I was younger, before everything. I admire that." Lisa took the flowers, her mind racing. She wasn't sure what to make of his words, or the emotions they stirred within her. She had spent so long keeping people at arm's length, afraid of being hurt again, that she didn't know how to respond to someone who seemed to genuinely care. "Mr. Blackwood," she began, but he interrupted her. "Sebastian," he corrected gently. "Sebastian," she said, the name feeling strange on her tongue. "I appreciate the gesture, but I am not looking for whatever this is." "I am not asking for anything," he replied, his voice softening. "I just want to get to know you, to understand what drives you. You've made me feel something I haven't felt in a long time, Lisa. I don't know where it will lead, but I am willing to find out if you are." Lisa looked at him, torn between her instincts to protect herself and the strange pull she felt toward him. She saw the pain in his eyes, the loneliness that mirrored her own, and for the first time, she wondered if maybe there was more to him than she had initially thought. "Okay," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I need to be clear. My son comes first. I've fought too hard to give him a stable life, and I won't let anything jeopardize that." Sebastian nodded, his expression serious. "I understand, and I respect that. All I am asking for is a chance." Lisa hesitated, then slowly nodded. "One chance." As Sebastian left the studio that evening, a small spark of hope flashed in his heart. He did not know what the future held, but he felt a sense of purpose, a reason to keep moving forward. And as Lisa watched him go, she couldn't help but feel a slight melting of the walls she had built around herself, wondering if perhaps, against all odds, there was something worth pursuing with the man who had entered her life so unexpectedly. In the quiet of her dance studio, Lisa's heart raced as the echo of Sebastian's departure still lingered in the air. The intensity of their encounter had left her feeling uneased. Her emotions became a tangled mess of confusion and temptation. She had seen something in Sebastian, a vulnerability, a deep loneliness that reflected her own. And yet, there was a part of her that wanted to withdraw from him, a part of her that was overwhelmed by the implications of what it would mean to let him into her life. As she turned off the studio lights, her thoughts drifted back to the last time she had seen her parents. It was a memory she had tried to bury, but now it resurfaced with startling clarity. The look of sheer disappointment on their faces when she had told them she was pregnant had been parched into her mind. The way her father's shoulders had slumped, the way her mother had turned away, unable to even look at her. It was a moment that had changed everything. Their words had cut deep, each one a reminder of how she had failed them, how she had shattered the future they had envisioned for her. She hadn't seen them in years. Not since that cold, painful day when they had told her to leave, to find her own way because she had chosen a path they could not accept. The weight of their judgment still hung over her, even after all this time. And now, here she was, standing on the precipice of something new, something that could change her life forever. But the fear of disappointing them again held her back. Her parents had never met their only grandchild. That thought filled her with a dull ache every time she allowed herself to dwell on it. She wanted so badly for them to be a part of her son's life and to share in the joy of watching him grow. But she had been too afraid, too ashamed to reach out. What if they rejected him the way they had rejected her? What if they refused to acknowledge his existence? Lisa had spent the past years rebuilding her life, brick by brick, determined to prove that she could make it on her own. She had poured everything into her dance, working tirelessly to perfect her craft, to earn her place in a world that had no mercy for those who stumbled. She had plans, big plans. She was on the brink of something incredible, something that would finally show her parents that she had made it, that she had become someone they could be proud of. But now there was Sebastian. He was charming, yes, but also kind and attentive in a way that had caught her off guard. He had seen her, really seen her, in a way that no one else had. He understood her struggles, her fears, and he had offered her support when she needed it most. The gifts, the attention, the way he spoke to her with such genuine interest, it was all so tempting, so intoxicating. But it was also terrifying. Sebastian was older than her parents, a fact that numbed at her every time she thought about it. What would her parents think if they knew? How could she ever explain it to them? Especially after everything that had happened. They had already been so disappointed in her once. Could she really risk disappointing them again? She had promised herself that she would visit them when she had made it big. Then she could show them that she had become someone they could be proud of. But what would they say when they saw her with Sebastian? Would they see him as just another mistake or another poor choice that would only bring her pain? Lisa's mind spined with questions, each one more troubling than the last. She wanted to move on with Sebastian, to explore whatever this strange, powerful connection was between them. But the fear of what her parents would think, of how they would judge her, held her back. The thought of trading her hard work and the life that she had built for herself and her son for something that might not even last was almost too much to bear. She sat down on the edge of a stage, her head in her hands, trying to sort through the chaos in her mind. She wanted to be with Sebastian. There was no denying that. But the guilt, the fear, and the memories of her parents' disappointment weighed heavily on her. How could she reconcile the two? How could she move forward without losing everything she had worked so hard to build? The answers did not seem easy. All she knew was that she was standing at a crossroads, with no clear path in sight. She could take the leap with Sebastian, risking everything for the chance at something real, something meaningful. Or she could turn away, focus on her dreams, and hope that one day her parents would finally see her, for who she had become. But as she sat there in the dim light of the studio, one thing became clear. No matter what path she took, the road ahead would not be without a fight. She would have to face her fears, confront her past, and make decisions that could change the course of her life forever.